get to play in front of like our great fans. It's awesome. But I think we got enough. There was like enough folks in here where we feel like there was people here, so we kind of dealt with that element. I feel like with the preseason, we kind of just getting some people in here tonight, being able to play in front of them, kind of allowed us to get everything done that we needed to get done to. In this kind of the early, the preseason to understand like where we need to be.
Dan, how much do you mix and match who's blue and who's white in different settings? Are those typically the groups you have gone with recently?
No, I mean, in practice we've been mixing and matching a ton. In the scrimmages we've mixed and matched a ton. Just really today was more just wanting to see different combinations of guys that we really haven't seen. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't read too much into.
You played well.
No, I really liked what Andre did. That's a template for the way that Andre needs to go about playing. He was just so active, and he got downhill with the drive. I mean, that version of Andre, could have a really big impact. I thought a lot of the younger guys on the great team had a lot more pop, and I think some of the older guys, there were a lot of older guys on the blue that looked like didn't have the same energy level. Maybe they're saving it for the opener, but that's never a good approach. You always got to be ready to go.
Conversely, from a team standpoint, after what you saw tonight and other practices, what needs work before the opener?
Yeah, my biggest concern is really perimeter. Just like perimeter attack offensively. Guys making plays off the dribble. Guys being able to step into shots and knock them down. Just like, perimeter firepower is really the only concern I have. We got a lot of depth in the front court. We have a lot of depth in general. We feel like we're going to have one of the best inside players in the country this year. Can we get enough? And then obviously a front court that has depth to it. But can we get just enough from the perimeter of what we need?
Is Jordan one of those guys there? It looks like he's no shortage of confidence putting the ball up.
No, he was firing. And he's going to, obviously these non-conference games will be big for him to try to get his feet under him and try to get a rhythm out there. And he makes mistakes on the backboard. He makes defensive mistakes, but he is in attack mode, and you do need guys on the perimeter that approach offense like that. He's going to show up in scouting reports. So we're going to need a lot from him this year.
Russell?
I would say is most disappointing is maybe lack of guards breaking down the defense and just creating and playing off script. And he made some plays today. He was able to get paint and create some scrambles just by being a little slick with the ball. So, I mean, we were hoping he would come in and really put pressure on all of our older guards. It hasn't worked out that way because of his health, but hopefully now, he could kind of throw his hat in the ring and put pressure on some guys in terms of trying to force his way on the court.
How long has he been back practicing?
It's literally this is like his fourth live, so it's probably the most he's done was tonight. But he hasn't been available.
So how do you kind of feel about where you are as a team, with the game a week away, basically?
Yeah, I feel good about it. I think, I feel great about where we are. I think from a defensive standpoint, the only place that we've really been bad in the two scrimmages was our transition defense, which is something I think is relatively easy to fix. Part of it's had to do with just playing strange combinations of people and not treating these situations like tonight or scrimmages truly like a game. So my only real I think we're going to be an elite defensive team. I think that we'll rebound the heck out of the ball. We just have to score enough to be able to support everything else that we can do.
Yeah, what's the concept of the?
And that's all got to come from the perimeter because, Adama is he didn't he was a little bit out of sorts tonight, but he's been dominant in the two scrimmages.
How's the concept of four-men stretching the defense, hitting threes? Is that developing the way you're hoping it is?
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, we have enough depth now where it's like you've got to be giving us something. Like you've if we're going to play, the two bigs, then one of those guys has got to be a threat to make a three so we can open up the court, or they have to be absolutely punishing the other team in the paint. And then obviously we have the flexibility to go potentially like RJ, Andre, Tyrese, Tyler, or Jordan in there and play four perimeter that way with size around the Dama, or Isaiah or Sampson or Cook. So we have a lot of ways that we can go, and so the biggest thing we talk about is really lately is like be a great team guy. This is about nothing but winning, and all you should ever be thinking about is either holding a teammate accountable or supporting a teammate. We have no time for anyone's little individual agenda at this point, and that's not the easiest thing to do in today's basketball because they don't always get a great example of that.
You mentioned transition defense. What have you seen on the opposite spectrum of it, on the offensive side of transition?
I don't think that we're quite getting the ball down the court at the rate that we want to. I don't think these guys get into that attack mode and play off script enough. I think they rely too much on like a ball screen, a drag ball screen, rather than getting the ball down court, beating your defender, attacking the paint, and now putting the other team in a defense in a difficult situation. So we've been really just trying to unchange a possession. You hear us yelling, blast, paint, attack, just to try to create that mentality.
Dan, when you look at what Andre's role could be or should be, is it just a matter of how many things he can do, and if he can keep defensive honest from the outside?
Yeah, I mean, you see this though, just the athletic ability and his size, and you get a chance to see like that speed, and he's a rare athlete. It's about identity. It's about sticking to that identity today that he brought to the court, and not tomorrow having a different identity. He could be an incredibly disruptive defender, one of the best perimeter guys in the country potentially. His rebounding, his ability to get downhill, his passing ability, and his shot looks better. I mean, he obviously made the very tough contested three, but he stepped into a rhythm three. It's not even so much about his shooting right now. It's identity with those other things. Play to those things as your strength, as opposed to trying to convince people that you can shoot. Because he shoots well enough. It's identity. You said it 6.
Have you seen a lot of what you saw from Sampson here? That last bucket or two, I think, when he took like one step and went 20 feet with one step.
Yeah, you got a 6'10" guy that with three looks like that and can get pressured. I think it might have been two. It might have been a third dribble from the bench to a reverse. I mean, looked like a pterodactyl, right?
Yeah.
And then the block, the weak side block where he comes out of nowhere. I mean, he's got, listen, the guys playing in front of him on the front court, they've got to keep him off the court, so that when they're on the court, they've got to produce. But yeah, he has days where he looks like that, and he has days where he's overwhelmed. So, but he's a special talent.
Talking about scoring from the perimeter and shot creating, and how much does it help going against those front line guys like that? That later in the year, these guys are going to be pretty good shot creators, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, just to play against our defense every day, it's funny in a weird way. I think it hurts our confidence going into regular games because of the way that we kind of get after each other. It's hard for a guy to feel really good about how they're playing because it's so physical and we're so aggressive. So, but by the flip side of that, like, you should feel like the game should slow down for you when you're done playing against our front court. Or when,
Yeah, they don't have to drive the lane into those guys.
yeah, there's a lot waiting for you at the rim. So.
Is it part of why Sanogo was a little out of sorts? And Cook played pretty well in there, and obviously Sampson is a presence.
Yeah, and they, we tried to trap him. He's going to see a lot of people that play one-on-one in the post with him. That's a very, very, that's dangerous. He's primed for a big, big, big year. He is day in and day out through the scrimmages, through every practice, really up through tonight. He's looked like a legitimate player of the year, first team all conference level guy. I mean, he's been on it, and so he's gonna see a lot of double teams. He's gonna see a lot of people digging, and he's gonna have to learn to deal with that. But while he's getting one-on-ones, he's gonna be eating a lot.
Is he fouling less? That was an issue last year.
Yeah, he's been better. I mean, still is a little handsy. We've adjusted some ball screen defensive things at times if he does pick up a quick one, to keep him safer. But he's more disciplined.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dan.